Okay. Yeah, so this is called having and not having are the same. Shakyamuni Buddha, who preached in India some 2,600 years ago, described the underlying reality of human desires. Those who don't have a field or a home suffer in seeking to acquire them, he said, and those who have them suffer in maintaining them. The same is true of all our desires. Whether we have what we want or not, we suffer. He who has no field is distressed and wishes for one. He who has no house is distressed and wishes for one. He who owns a field is distressed about the field, and he who owns a house is distressed about the house. It is no different with horses and other livestock, servants, money and treasure, food and clothing, and household goods. Having and not having are the same. Having and not having are the same means that wealth and possessions, fame and status, family and other objects of desire cause us pain if we don't have them, but also cause us pain if we do. Both have and have nots are unfulfilled and tormented by unceasing worry. This is no less true today than in Shakyamuni's time. What appears to others a blessing can in fact feel like a curse. The news is full of accounts of talented, wealthy, and popular people who take their own lives, causing society to wonder, why for heaven's sake? Shakyamuni taught that haves are bound by chains of gold, have-nots by chains of iron. Whether our chains are made of gold or iron, either way, we are bound and in torment. Some readers may be thinking, I understand the suffering of have-nots, but the idea that haves also suffer doesn't really make sense to me. It may help if we compare us haves of today, enjoying the conveniences of modern life, with haves of times past. In feudal Japan, the supreme form of transportation was the palanquin. But compared with today's automobiles, high-speed trains and airplanes, palanquins were hot and stifling in summer and freezing in winter. The plodding pace, constant swaying, and limits on distance traveled were inconvenient. Riding horseback while faster was just as hot or cold, with no protection from wind, rain, and snow. Now we all enjoy vastly greater convenience and comfort than feudal lords of old, and yet we tend to take what we have for granted. It brings us little joy. This is because no matter how much money, things, or conveniences we may be blessed with, our desires remain insatiable. When we get what we want, our satisfaction is temporary, soon giving way to dissatisfaction. Our desires are unbounded. When they are unfulfilled, we experience craving. When they are fulfilled, our craving doubles. This is the reality of human desires. Okay, so up to here for today. I think the more we listen to the Dharma, the more clear it becomes how our desires are unbounded. So that brings some level of serenity to the mind because we don't try to become a slave to our desires. We see delusion for what it is. It's just a delusion. It's just in our head we think, oh, if only I had that, I would be so happy. But that happiness, it's very temporary because, like I said, we soon get used to it and take it for granted. So this wisdom is very important. And then what is the antidote? So if having and not having are the same, so are we bound to just suffer? You know, Buddha says we are not born to suffer. We are living life. The meaning or purpose of life is to understand why we suffer so we can have it eliminated. So what is the antidote? The antidote is the more we help other people with their hardships in life, based on the wisdom we acquire through listening to the Dharma, the more we give our time, our money, or energy for the sake of others, we stop taking things for granted. The hardships we go through makes us not take things for granted. And because it's an ongoing process, like, yeah, I was telling you guys about my backache during the holidays, and how much, I was taking my back or my health for granted. And then we don't have that joyfulness. But then when we lose it, we're like, wow. Like I always heard about the backache, so many people seem to suffer from it. And I was like, wow, what's the big deal? I didn't relate to it until it happened to me. So, but now that it happens to us, we stop taking our health for granted. So similarly, if we go through hardships in order to bring joyfulness to other people, something shifts in our mindset. So if we're not making connections to others, that means we live in our comfort zone. Our happiness is not genuine because it's dependent on all the things that we are controlling. So it's not really genuine. So it can easily collapse. And then we don't feel that deep joy or zest for life or vitality. But once we reach out to others and consider their pain and suffering as our own and try to gain the wisdom to help them out, something shifts in our mindset. And then little by little, we stop taking things for granted. And that means every moment we can have joyfulness in our heart and mind. Okay, so good job everyone for being here, practicing together. And yeah, we will have our advanced course 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, and have a wonderful Sunday.